Welcome, dear friends, to a peaceful journey through 140 gentle facts about Spider Man, the beloved superhero who began as a humble teenager in a comic book and has grown into an icon that has captured hearts across the world. From the moment Peter Parker was bitten by a radioactive spider, his life was forever changed. Tonight, we'll explore the origins of Spider Man, the creation of his iconic villains, the many evolutions of his powers, and the impact this superhero has had across comics, films, and pop culture. With each soft fact, we'll drift through the years of Spider Man's world, watching as he swings through the pages of history, his story woven into the fabric of many lives. Whether you've followed him since the very beginning or are just beginning to appreciate his legacy, tonight's tale will feel like a quiet, reassuring presence, comforting you as you float softly into rest. Now take a deep breath, slowly feeling the warmth of the night wrap around you. Let your body loosen as your mind unwind and your thoughts drift like soft clouds. With every breath, let go of the day. The world is calm, and you are safe here. And if you enjoy drifting through stories like this, you're welcome to subscribe and softly tell me where you're listening from tonight. Now, let us begin our journey into the quiet, gentle world of Spider Man, where each soft fact will guide you closer to a peaceful rest. Fact 1: Spider Man, one of the most beloved superheroes, was created by writer Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko. His first appearance was in Amazing Fantasy the 15 in 1962, published by Marvel Comics. Unlike other superheroes of the time, Spider Man's origin story was different. Instead of being a grown adult or a godlike figure, Peter Parker was a regular teenager, someone readers could relate to. His struggles with school, family, and love gave him a grounded humanity that set him apart, making him instantly recognizable and cherished by fans around the world. Fact 2: Peter Parker, the young man behind the Spider Man mask, was a high school student from Queens, New York. He was portrayed as shy, intelligent, and somewhat awkward, making him easy to connect with. His life would change forever when he was bitten by a radioactive spider, which granted him incredible powers. These powers included superhuman strength, enhanced agility, the ability to cling to walls, and a spider sense that alerted him to danger. His life, once filled with the usual teenage troubles, would soon be defined by a new set of challenges and the heavy responsibility that came with his powers. In Fact 3, Stan Lee, who co-created Spider Man, initially wanted the character to be a young superhero who would have to juggle the pressures of adolescence with his new crime-fighting responsibilities. Spider Man's story was revolutionary because it didn't just focus on action, but also on Peter Parker's internal struggles. Lee's intention was to show that being a superhero wasn't all glory and power. It also came with deep personal sacrifices. This emphasis on personal consequences helped Spider Man resonate with fans on a much deeper level than previous superheroes, setting him apart as one of the most complex characters in comic book history. Fact 4: The iconic spider bite that gave Peter Parker his powers was actually not planned to be a transformative moment in the story at first. When Stan Lee and Steve Ditko were creating Spider Man, they wanted a hero who didn't have a traditional origin story. The radioactive spider bite would ultimately become the catalyst for Peter's transformation, but it was initially just a chance encounter. The spider, however, would be far more than a random event. It would mark the beginning of a hero's journey, one that would lead Peter Parker to face personal loss, heartbreak, and moments of deep introspection. Fact 5. After gaining his powers, Peter Parker first used them selfishly. In his early days as Spider Man, he was more concerned with using his abilities to become famous than with helping others. This changed dramatically when his Uncle Ben was tragically murdered by a criminal Peter could have stopped. The event shook Peter to his core, leading him to understand the gravity of his powers and the responsibility they carried. With great power comes great responsibility. Uncle Ben's words would forever echo in Peter's heart, shaping the hero Spider Man would become. Fact 6. The phrase, with great power comes great responsibility, has since become one of the most iconic and frequently quoted lines in comic book history. But it wasn't originally meant to be a catchphrase. Stan Lee crafted this profound sentiment as a way for Peter to understand his purpose as Spider Man. After the loss of his uncle, Peter's sense of guilt pushed him to dedicate his life to fighting crime and protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. This line became the backbone of Spider Man's moral compass, reminding him and readers of the heavy burden he carried as a hero. Fact 7. Spider Man's costume is one of the most recognizable in the world, characterized by its bold red and blue design, black webbing, and spider emblem. The suit was initially created by Steve Ditko, who drew inspiration from various sources. The design aimed to reflect both the sleekness of a spider and the vibrant, youthful energy of Peter Parker. Over the years, the suit has undergone many transformations, including the introduction of the black suit, the symbiote, and various armored versions. Despite these changes, the classic red and blue design remains the definitive version of Spider Man's look, instantly recognizable to fans everywhere. Fact 8. Peter Parker's transformation into Spider Man was not without its challenges, but it also brought a sense of empowerment. The newfound abilities gave Peter strength and agility, but they also exposed him to new dangers. Unlike other superheroes who were often gifted with their powers by fate, Peter's powers were a result of his own actions. His willingness to take responsibility for his abilities shaped him as a hero. His unique journey explored themes of self empowerment as he had to balance his new identity with his old life, often feeling torn between his personal desires and the obligations of being a hero. Fact 9. Spider Man's first villain was the Chameleon, who made his debut in Amazing Spider Man number 1 in 1963. The Chameleon's ability to disguise himself as anyone was a clever way of testing Spider Man's newly discovered powers. This villain set the stage for many of the iconic rogues Spider Man would face throughout his career, including the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and Venom. Each of these villains represented a unique challenge to Spider Man, testing both his physical abilities and his emotional resilience. Over time, these enemies would become an essential part of Spider Man's journey, pushing him to grow in ways he never expected. Fact 10. The creation of Spider Man was a true collaboration between Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, but their relationship was often complicated. Ditko, known for his meticulous artwork and distinct style, was instrumental in shaping Spider Man's visual identity. However, his approach to the character was different from Lee's, and the two had differing opinions on various storylines. Despite these differences, their partnership created one of the most successful and enduring superhero legacies in history. Lee's storytelling vision and Ditko's artistic style merged to form the Spider Man we know today, a character with depth, relatability, and enduring appeal. Fact 11: Peter Parker's life as Spider Man began with a struggle for identity. In his early days, he wasn't sure how to balance his school life with his newfound responsibilities as a hero. Unlike many superheroes who had a clear dual identity, Peter was often torn between his role as a high school student and his life as Spider Man. His struggles were not just physical, but emotional, as he had to deal with the guilt of not being able to save his Uncle Ben and the constant pressure of keeping his superhero identity a secret. These internal battles formed a major part of Spider Man's character from the very beginning. Fact 12: One of the earliest themes explored in Spider Man comics was Peter's financial struggles. As a teenager, Peter couldn't afford expensive equipment or the luxuries that many heroes took for granted. His costume, which he made himself, was simple and often torn during battles. Additionally, Peter had to take on multiple jobs just to make ends meet. This relatable aspect of Peter's character resonated with readers, especially young ones who could see themselves in his struggles. The financial pressures Peter faced made him more human and grounded, further distinguishing Spider Man from other, more affluent superheroes of the time. Fact 13: The science background of Peter Parker was another key element of Spider Man's character. While most superheroes relied on gadgets or mystical powers, Peter's intellect and scientific knowledge played a significant role in his heroics. Peter's scientific knowledge allowed him to create his own web shooters, a key element of his superhero persona. His understanding of biology, chemistry, and physics also helped him in various battles, as he was able to outsmart his enemies through ingenuity. His sharp mind and quick thinking made him a formidable opponent, proving that brains could be just as powerful as brawn. Fact 14: Peter's relationships with his friends and family were integral to his early stories. His best friend, Harry Osborn, played a crucial role in Peter's life, though their friendship was often tested by the complexities of their secret lives. Harry's father, Norman Osborn, would go on to become one of Spider Man's greatest enemies, the Green Goblin. These tangled relationships added depth to Peter's character, as he had to navigate the personal and emotional consequences of his actions as Spider Man. The emotional conflict of trying to protect his loved ones while keeping his identity a secret created a sense of realism in Spider Man's world. Fact 15: Another important part of Peter Parker's early days was his romantic life. His first love, Gwen Stacy, played a significant role in Peter's journey, bringing both happiness and heartbreak into his life. Gwen represented the innocence and purity of Peter's early teenage years, but her tragic death at the hands of the Green Goblin would forever haunt him. The loss of Gwen marked a turning point in Peter's life, showing him the true cost of being Spider Man. This deep loss would influence his relationships with others and shape his outlook on both his responsibilities as a hero and his personal life. Fact 16: The arrival of Mary Jane Watson in Peter's life brought a new dynamic to his personal world. Mary Jane, with her free-spirited personality and confidence, was a stark contrast to Gwen Stacy's more reserved nature. Mary Jane's relationship with Peter would go through ups and downs, especially as Peter struggled with his dual identity. However, she would eventually become one of the most important people in Peter's life, offering him love and support even when he was at his most vulnerable. Their relationship added a layer of emotional depth to Peter's journey, showing that even heroes need love and companionship. Fact 17. In addition to personal and emotional struggles, Spider Man faced some of the most memorable villains in comic book history during his early years. The Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, and the Vulture were just a few of the foes Peter had to battle. Each villain represented a different challenge for Spider Man, testing his physical and emotional limits. The Green Goblin, in particular, was a personal adversary as Norman Osborn, Harry's father, became Spider Man's most dangerous enemy. The Goblin's ruthless tactics and personal vendetta against Peter made him a constant threat, adding tension and danger to Peter's already difficult life. Fact 18. The role of Spider Man's spider sense was also central to his early stories. This heightened sense of awareness, which tingled whenever danger was near, was one of Peter's most unique abilities. While it often gave him an edge in battle, it also served as a constant reminder of the dangers around him. The spider sense became a symbolic aspect of Spider Man's character, representing his ever present vigilance and responsibility to protect others. It also served as a narrative device, allowing the readers to experience Peter's heightened sense of awareness as he navigated the dangers of being a superhero. Fact 19. Peter Parker's sense of guilt and responsibility was further explored in his early adventures. After his Uncle Ben's death, Peter often found himself questioning whether he was doing enough as Spider-Man. This internal conflict between doing what was right and facing the personal sacrifices required of him became a central theme in Spider-Man's stories. Unlike other superheroes, Spider-Man didn't always have the luxury of knowing he was doing enough. He questioned his actions constantly, sometimes doubting his own abilities and choices. This self-doubt humanized Spider-Man, making him one of the most relatable superheroes of all time. Fact 20. The first significant milestone in Peter's journey as Spider-Man was when he officially became a member of the superhero community. He joined forces with the Fantastic Four, though his membership was short-lived. This moment marked the beginning of Spider-Man's evolution from a lone hero to a key player in the larger Marvel universe. His involvement with other heroes helped solidify his place in the world of superheroes and broaden his perspective on what it meant to be a hero. It also showed readers that even someone as isolated as Peter could find allies and work together to make the world a better place. Fact 21. Spider-Man's Rogues Gallery is one of the most diverse and memorable in all of comic book history. What made Spider-Man's villains so compelling was that they often had personal connections to Peter Parker, making their battles not just physical, but deeply emotional. One of the most iconic villains, the Green Goblin, was not only a formidable foe, but also a personal threat to Peter, as Norman Osborn, the man behind the mask, was the father of Peter's best friend, Harry. The emotional stakes of their battles were high, showing how Spider-Man's world was shaped not just by powers, but by relationships. Fact 22. Dr. Octopus, or Otto Octavius, made his first appearance in Amazing Spider-Man #3 in 1963 and quickly became one of Spider-Man's most dangerous enemies. Unlike other villains who relied on brute force, Dr. Octopus was highly intelligent, using his scientific knowledge and mechanical arms to challenge Spider Man both mentally and physically. Octopus became a symbol of how Spider Man's intellect and powers could be tested, pushing Peter to his limits in ways other villains could not. The emotional complexity of their rivalry, especially in later storylines, made Dr. Octopus one of the most enduring and complicated villains in Spider Man's world. Fact 23. Another early villain who became iconic in Spider Man's history was the Vulture. First appearing in Amazing Spider Man number 2 in 1963, the Vulture was an elderly man named Adrian Toomes who wore a special winged suit that allowed him to fly. The Vulture represented a unique challenge to Spider Man, as he was one of the first villains Peter faced who was older and experienced, yet physically weaker. This created an interesting dynamic, as Spider Man had to use not only his strength, but also his wits to defeat an adversary who was able to stay one step ahead. Fact 24. The Sandman, or Flint Marko, was another early villain who would go on to become a recurring foe for Spider Man. First introduced in Amazing Spider Man number 4 in 1963, Sandman's ability to transform his bodies into sand made him a difficult opponent to defeat. His power to shapeshift and reform himself after being attacked challenged Spider Man's usual methods of fighting. However, Sandman was also portrayed as a sympathetic character in many storylines, adding layers of complexity to his character. Like many of Spider Man's enemies, Sandman's motivations were often driven by a sense of personal struggle, making him more than just a villain. Fact 25. The first major story arc involving Spider Man's enemies occurred when he fought the Sinister Six. Formed by Dr. Octopus, the Sinister Six was a group of Spider Man's greatest foes: Vulture, Sandman, Mysterio, Kraven the Hunter, and Electro. Their goal was to defeat Spider Man once and for all. The formation of the Sinister Six in The Amazing Spider Man number 1 in 1964 marked a turning point in Spider Man's life, as he faced a collective threat unlike anything he had encountered before. The idea of Spider Man being outmatched by not just one, but six powerful villains was a terrifying prospect, and it tested his resilience like never before. Fact 26. Electro, one of Spider Man's earliest villains, was introduced in Amazing Spider Man number 9 in 1964. Maxwell Dillon, an electrical engineer who gained the ability to generate and control electricity after being struck by lightning while working on a power line, became the villain known as Electro. His powers made him a formidable foe, able to disrupt electronics and cause massive electrical damage. Electro's inclusion in Spider Man's roster of villains showcased the range of threats Peter faced. Unlike the more personal threats, Electro represented the dangers of power gone awry, yet his humanity and the reasons behind his actions gave him emotional depth. Fact 27. Mysterio, introduced in Amazing Spider Man number 13 in 1964, was a master of illusions, capable of manipulating reality and tricking Spider Man into seeing things that weren't there. His real name, Quentin Beck, was a special effects artist, and he used his skills to create terrifying, lifelike illusions that played with Spider Man's senses and mind. Mysterio's battles with Spider Man were often psychological in nature, challenging Peter's perception of reality. This made Mysterio one of the most unsettling and cerebral villains Spider Man would face, showing that not all threats were physical. Some could attack the mind, and Mysterio excelled in that arena. Fact 28. Craven the Hunter, another one of Spider Man's most dangerous and tragic foes, was introduced in Amazing Spider Man The Loner 15 in 1964. Sergei Kravenov, a Russian aristocrat, became obsessed with hunting Spider Man as the ultimate prey. Craven's dedication to his cause and his belief that capturing Spider Man would be the ultimate test of his skills pushed him to the edge. In what became one of Spider Man's most famous storylines, Craven's Last Hunt, Craven captured Spider Man, buried him alive, and took over his identity in an effort to prove his superiority. This dark and psychological storyline explored themes of identity and obsession. Fact 29. One of the most tragic and enduring villains in Spider Man's mythos is the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn, the father of Peter Parker's best friend, Harry Osborn, became one of the most personal threats a Spider Man would ever face. The Green Goblin's insanity, coupled with his vast wealth and resources, made him a terrifying enemy. His clashes with Spider Man were not just physical, but deeply emotional, as the Green Goblin's actions directly affected Peter's personal life. The death of Gwen Stacy at the hands of the Green Goblin remains one of the darkest moments in Spider Man's history, a loss that haunted Peter for years. Fact 30. The creation of Spider Man's iconic villains wasn't just about crafting antagonists to challenge the hero, it was about creating characters who reflected aspects of Spider Man's own journey. Many of Spider Man's villains, such as Dr. Octopus and the Green Goblin, were once ordinary people who were transformed by their own mistakes or desires for power. This theme of transformation, both physical and emotional, mirrored Peter Parker's own journey as Spider Man. These villains often served as foils to Peter, highlighting the moral and psychological challenges he faced, and reminding him that with great power, the temptation to lose one's way was always present. Fact 31. Spider Man's powers have evolved significantly since his debut, with many of these changes reflecting Peter Parker's growth as a character. One of the most significant upgrades to Spider Man's abilities occurred in the 1970s when he developed the ability to stick to walls using his hands and feet. While this power initially seemed more like a neat trick, it became an essential tool in Peter's crime fighting toolkit. The ability to stick to any surface allowed him to navigate the city in ways other heroes could not, giving Spider Man an advantage over his enemies while adding to his unique, acrobatic fighting style. Fact 32. Spider Man's webbing is one of his most iconic abilities, and it has gone through many iterations since its creation. Originally, Peter Parker used his web shooters to shoot a specially formulated webbing that he designed himself. Over the years, the webbing has been enhanced, becoming stronger and more versatile. Peter has also developed multiple types of webs, including webbing that can dissolve over time, webs that can be used as traps, and even webbing that can withstand extreme conditions. These enhancements not only reflected Peter's scientific ingenuity, but also provided him with new ways to outsmart and outfight his enemies. Fact 33. In addition to his increased webbing abilities, Spider Man's strength has also evolved. While he initially had the strength of a spider, allowing him to lift around 10 tons, his strength has increased over the years through constant training and experience. This greater strength has allowed Spider Man to go toe to toe with some of the strongest villains in the Marvel Universe, including the Hulk and Thor. Spider Man's enhanced strength also came with a better understanding of his body's limits, which helped him avoid injury while using his powers to their fullest potential in combat. Fact 34: Spider Man's agility is another aspect of his powers that has grown over time. His initial agility allowed him to leap great distances and perform acrobatic feats, but as time went on, his abilities became even more refined. Spider Man can now move faster than the human eye can follow, perform intricate flips and spins in the air, and even dodge bullets with ease. This agility not only serves him well in combat, allowing him to dodge attacks and outmaneuver foes, but also makes him an incredible presence in the city, able to swing from building to building with fluid grace. Fact 35: Perhaps one of the most interesting aspects of Spider Man's powers is his spider sense. This ability alerts him to danger, allowing him to react instantly to threats. Early on, the spider sense was just a tingling feeling that warned him of incoming danger, but over time, it became more finely tuned. The spider sense now alerts Spider Man to subtle changes in his environment, helping him detect things like hidden traps, weapons, and even the emotions of those around him. This heightened sense has made Spider Man incredibly difficult to surprise or defeat, even by enemies who are trying to outsmart him. Fact 36: Over the years, Spider Man's healing abilities have also improved. While he has never been able to heal at the same rate as characters like Wolverine, his healing factor has allowed him to recover from injuries more quickly than a normal human. In some storylines, Spider Man has been shown to recover from serious wounds, including broken bones and deep cuts, in a matter of hours. This ability has been especially useful in high stakes battles, where Spider Man is often left injured but must continue to fight. It allows him to push through pain and recover in ways other heroes cannot. Fact 37: As Spider Man's powers have evolved, so too has his ability to sense the emotional states of those around him. This development began when Spider Man became more attuned to his spider sense and expanded into the ability to detect subtle emotional cues in others. This power has allowed him to sense when someone is lying or in distress, giving him an emotional edge in his encounters with others. This ability, while not as refined as his physical powers, has made Peter Parker more empathetic and has deepened his understanding of human nature. Fact 38: Peter's intellect has always been one of his greatest assets, and over the years, he has developed new technologies and tools that enhance his fighting abilities. In addition to his web shooters, Peter has created new gadgets, such as the spider tracers, which allow him to track people or objects by sending out a signal. He has also designed a special suit to help him survive in extreme conditions, such as underwater or in space. His scientific mind allows him to adapt to whatever challenge is thrown at him, making Spider Man not just strong, but incredibly resourceful as well. Fact 39: Spider Man's suit has evolved throughout the years to accommodate the growing complexity of his powers. Originally, Peter wore a simple homemade suit made of fabric, but over time, his suit became more specialized. The suit now features reinforced materials to withstand damage during battle, as well as technological enhancements like the spider signal, which allows him to project a symbol in dark areas. Spider Man's suit has also become a symbol of his resilience, his creativity, and his ability to continually adapt to new challenges. Each version of the suit reflects Peter's growth as both a hero and a man. Fact 40: One of the most significant changes to Spider Man's powers occurred when he was granted the ability to shoot organic webbing from his wrists instead of relying on web shooters. This change happened during a storyline where Peter Parker was temporarily transformed into the other by an alien force. The organic webbing, while convenient, took away one of Peter's most defining qualities, his scientific ingenuity. After regaining his original powers, Spider Man returned to using his web shooters, though the experience marked a turning point in his journey, reminding him of the importance of creativity, science, and the way his powers are intrinsically linked to who he is. Fact 41. One of Spider Man's most iconic storylines is the night Gwen Stacy died in The Amazing Spider Man, Year 121, in 1973. The storyline marked a significant turning point in both Peter Parker's life and the comic book world. Gwen Stacy, Peter's first true love, was tragically killed during a battle between Spider Man and the Green Goblin. This heartbreaking event forever changed Peter's life, marking the loss of his innocence and the harsh reality of being a hero. The death of Gwen is often cited as one of the most pivotal moments in comic book history, both for its emotional impact and its shift in storytelling. Fact 42. Another iconic storyline is the Clone Saga, which began in The Amazing Spider Man 140 in 1975. This storyline introduced the concept of clones in the Spider Man universe, bringing with it a complex narrative filled with twists and turns. The saga featured the emergence of Ben Reilly, a clone of Peter Parker, who would later become the Scarlet Spider. This storyline, while initially controversial, would shape the direction of Spider Man's adventures for years, influencing both his character development and the larger Marvel universe. It also raised profound questions about identity, memory, and the nature of what it means to be human. Fact 43. Craven's Last Hunt, published in The Amazing Spider Man, issue 293 to 294 in 1987, is one of the darkest and most psychologically complex Spider Man storylines. In this arc, Craven the Hunter captures Spider Man, buries him alive, and then takes on the role of Spider Man to prove that he can be a better hero. The story explores deep themes of identity, obsession, and the dark side of heroism. It is one of the few times in Spider Man's history where the lines between hero and villain are blurred, forcing Peter to confront not only his physical limits, but also his psychological endurance. Fact 44. Another standout storyline in Spider Man's history is the death of Jean DeWolff, which ran through the Spectacular Spider Man, number 107 110 in 1985. This story marked a departure from the usual superhero tales, delving into the detective genre as Spider Man investigates the murder of New York City Police Commissioner John DeWolff. The story is notable for its mature themes and the portrayal of Spider Man in a more grounded investigative role. It is one of the few arcs where Peter Parker doesn't just fight supervillains, but also grapples with the complexities of crime and justice, showcasing his growth as a character. Fact 45. Spider-Verse, a storyline that began in The Amazing Spider-Man number 1 in 2014, introduced readers to the multiverse of Spider-People from various alternate realities. The storyline featured the villain Morlun and his family, the Inheritors, who sought to wipe out every Spider-Man across the multiverse. The event brought together dozens of different versions of Spider-Man, from the familiar Peter Parker to the heroic Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, and even Spider-Ham. Spider-Verse revitalized the Spider-Man franchise by introducing new characters and expanding the boundaries of what Spider-Man could be, both narratively and thematically. Fact 46: the Clone Saga wasn't the only story arc to delve into Peter Parker's complicated relationship with his clone. In the other are Evolve or Die, 2005. Peter is forced to confront the threat of an alien force and the nature of his own existence. This storyline included the death and resurrection of Spider Man, during which Peter was literally reborn with new powers and a new outlook on life. The event was a defining moment in Peter's life, as it marked a shift in his understanding of his own mortality and his place in the world as a hero. Fact 47: one of Spider Man's most beloved and tragic storylines is The Kid Who Collected Spider Man, which was published in The Amazing Spider Man number 248 in 1984. This story follows a young boy named Tim Harrison who is terminally ill and wishes to meet his hero, Spider Man. The story explores themes of heroism, mortality, and the impact that Spider Man has on the people he encounters. It is a deeply emotional and heartfelt tale that showcases the humanity of Spider Man, reminding readers that even heroes are capable of making a lasting difference in the lives of others, no matter how small or fleeting the moment. Fact 48: Spider Man No More is another important story from Spider Man's early years, first published in The Amazing Spider Man number 50 in 1967. In this story, Peter Parker, overwhelmed by the pressure of his dual identity, decides to give up being Spider Man and live a normal life. However, he quickly realizes that he cannot escape the responsibility of being a hero, and after seeing the impact of his absence on the people he cares about, he returns to his role as Spider Man. This story represents Peter's internal struggle with the weight of his responsibilities and his realization that he cannot turn his back on his duty. Fact 49: the Master Planner Saga is a classic Spider Man story arc that ran from The Amazing Spider Man to 3133 in 1965. The story is significant because it features one of Spider Man's most iconic battles and moments of personal triumph. In this saga, Spider Man is forced to confront the mastermind behind a series of criminal plots, all while dealing with the immense emotional weight of losing his beloved Aunt May. The arc is most memorable for Spider Man's iconic struggle to lift a heavy beam while gravely injured, showcasing his determination and willpower in the face of seemingly insurmountable odds. Fact 50: the death of Aunt May's storyline, which appeared in The Amazing Spider Man 400 in 1995, was a significant turning point in Spider Man's life. While Aunt May had been a central figure in Peter Parker's life since the very beginning, this storyline presented her death as a heartbreaking moment that challenged Peter's sense of responsibility and mortality. Though Aunt May ultimately survived, in a surprising twist, the storyline marked a crucial moment in Peter's evolution as a hero. It tested his ability to handle the grief and loss that came with his role as Spider Man, reminding readers that the burden of being a hero often comes at great personal cost. Fact 51: one of the key elements of Spider Man's character is the symbolism behind his costume. His red and blue suit, with the iconic spider emblem on his chest, is not only visually striking, but represents his dual identity. The spider itself symbolizes Peter's connection to the insect world, giving him a sense of strength, agility, and resilience. The costume, originally made by Peter Parker himself, reflects his creativity and scientific intelligence. Over the years, the suit has evolved, but it always symbolizes Peter's commitment to his role as Spider Man, reminding him of the responsibility he carries. Fact 52: Spider Man's mask is one of the most iconic parts of his costume, and its symbolism is just as important as the rest of his attire. The mask represents anonymity, allowing Peter Parker to protect his identity and separate his personal life from his superhero persona. The eyes on the mask, initially designed to look wide and expressive, convey emotion and intensity despite the mask's overall featureless appearance. The idea of hiding behind the mask reflects Peter's struggle with his dual life. He is constantly torn between his desire to maintain normalcy and his duty as Spider Man. Fact 53. The concept of responsibility is central to Spider Man's character, and it's encapsulated in the famous quote, "With great power comes great responsibility." This mantra has guided Peter Parker's actions since the death of his Uncle Ben and has been at the core of his journey as a hero. The idea of responsibility goes beyond his powers. It's about taking accountability for his actions, both as Peter Parker and Spider Man. It's a constant reminder that the choices he makes as a hero affect the lives of others, and he must always act with the well being of others in mind. Fact 54. Spider Man's powers themselves carry symbolic weight. His ability to cling to walls represents his ability to stay grounded despite the challenges he faces. The webbing he uses to swing through New York City symbolizes his connection to the world around him as he navigates both his personal struggles and the dangers of being a superhero. The web, often depicted as fragile yet strong, mirrors Peter's own emotional state. He is often pulled in different directions, yet he continues to fight, holding everything together with the strength of his will and determination. Fact 55. The idea of duality is one of the strongest themes in Spider Man's story. On one hand, Peter Parker is an ordinary teenager, struggling with school, work, and relationships. On the other, Spider Man is a powerful hero, facing life and death situations and dealing with extraordinary challenges. This duality is reflected in the symbolism of his alter ego. Spider Man's identity is a constant balancing act between his personal life and his role as a superhero. He often finds himself at a crossroads where he must choose between doing what's best for his loved ones or fulfilling his duties as a hero. Fact 56. The city of New York itself is an essential symbol in Spider Man's story. Spider Man's home is in Queens, a borough known for its working class roots, which mirrors Peter Parker's own background. The city is both a literal and metaphorical battleground, with Peter's adventures taking place in its crowded streets, rooftops, and alleyways. New York represents the everyday struggles Peter faces, but it also represents the hope and resilience of its people. As Spider Man swings through the city, he becomes a symbol of its resilience, showing that no matter how dark things get, there's always a chance for redemption and hope. Fact 57. The recurring theme of guilt is also a significant symbol in Spider Man's narrative. After the death of Uncle Ben, Peter has carried the guilt of not acting in time to prevent the tragedy. This feeling of guilt motivates him to be a better hero, to take his responsibility more seriously. It also serves as a reminder that no one is perfect, and even superheroes make mistakes. The constant presence of guilt in Peter's life humanizes him, making him relatable to fans who understand that, despite our best efforts, we all have moments of regret or failure. Fact 58. Spider Man's webbing, while a tool for crime fighting, also represents the delicate balance between heroism and sacrifice. Much like a spider's web, which is both fragile and intricate, Spider Man's life is woven with challenges and choices. His webbing helps him move through the world, but it also catches and traps him in difficult situations. The web becomes a metaphor for the interconnectedness of Peter's life as Spider Man. Each action has consequences, and every choice he makes is part of a larger pattern. The web represents the complexity of his world and the delicate nature of his existence as a hero. Fact 59: the theme of sacrifice is closely tied to Spider Man's character and the symbolism of his story. Throughout his journey, Peter Parker is forced to sacrifice parts of his personal life in order to fulfill his duties as Spider Man. Whether it's missing important moments with loved ones or enduring physical and emotional pain, Spider Man's sacrifices are constant. This theme is reinforced in storylines where Peter must choose between saving someone he loves or fulfilling his mission as a hero. The sacrifices Spider Man makes highlight the personal cost of being a superhero and add emotional depth to his character. Fact 60: Spider Man's role as a protector and symbol of hope is a powerful aspect of his symbolism. While he may not always have the most glamorous superhero life, his presence brings a sense of security to the people of New York City. His commitment to protecting the innocent and doing what's right, even when it's difficult, establishes him as a symbol of hope. Spider Man represents the idea that anyone, no matter their background or abilities, can make a difference in the world. This theme of hope, which runs through Spider Man's story, inspires readers to believe in the power of doing good. Fact 61: Spider Man's leap into other media began with his animated series in 1967. Spider Man. The animated series became one of the defining depictions of the character for a whole generation. The show, which aired in the 1990s, was responsible for introducing Spider Man to a larger audience outside of comics. It not only adapted many classic storylines, but also added new layers to Peter Parker's character, giving him a more dynamic voice. The series helped establish Spider Man's place as one of the most popular superheroes, expanding his appeal beyond comic book readers and becoming a beloved part of 90s nostalgia. Fact 62: Spider Man's first live action appearance came in 1977 with a TV series simply titled The Amazing Spider Man. Although the series had limited success, it marked a significant moment in the character's journey outside of comics. The show introduced Spider Man to audiences in a more grounded, live action format, though the show's production values and style were far removed from the modern cinematic portrayals we see today. Despite its short lived run, the series paved the way for future live action adaptations, demonstrating that Spider Man could transcend the pages of comic books and take on new forms of media. Fact 63: the first major cinematic portrayal of Spider Man was in Sam Raimi's Spider Man in 2002, starring Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. Raimi's film was a breakthrough moment for superhero films, capturing the essence of Spider Man's origin story with a mixture of heart, action, and emotional depth. The movie's success not only solidified Spider Man as a cinematic icon, but also laid the groundwork for the modern superhero movie craze. Tobey Maguire's portrayal of Peter Parker, struggling with both his personal life and his new powers, became the definitive Spider Man for many fans, and the film is considered a classic of the superhero genre. Fact 64. The Spider Man films continued with the 2004 sequel, Spider Man 2, which is often considered one of the best superhero movies ever made. Directed by Sam Raimi, the film delved deeper into Peter Parker's personal struggles, focusing on his balancing act between his life as Peter and his duties as Spider Man. The film's emotional resonance, particularly in its portrayal of Peter's guilt, responsibility, and love for Mary Jane, helped solidify Spider Man's place in the cinematic universe. It also introduced the character of Dr. Octopus, one of Spider Man's greatest foes, portrayed by Alfred Molina, adding a new layer of emotional depth to the film. Fact 65. In 2012, Spider Man was rebooted in The Amazing Spider Man, with Andrew Garfield taking on the role of Peter Parker. Directed by Mark Webb, the reboot presented a fresh take on the character, exploring Peter's origins through the lens of his relationship with his parents and his mysterious past. This version of Spider Man was known for its more modern, snarky take on the character, as well as the introduction of a new villain, the Lizard. While the reboot was met with mixed reviews, it showcased the character's adaptability and introduced Spider Man to a new generation of fans. Fact 66. Spider Man's presence in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, began in Captain America Civil War 2016, with Tom Holland playing the character. Holland's portrayal of Peter Parker was praised for its youthful energy and comedic charm, bringing a fresh perspective to the role. His version of Spider Man is portrayed as a teenager still learning about the responsibilities of being a hero. His inclusion in the MCU marked a significant moment for Spider Man, as it allowed the character to interact with other iconic Marvel characters and be integrated into a larger, interconnected universe, further expanding his presence in mainstream media. Fact 67. The Spider-Verse storyline, which was first introduced in the comics, was brought to life in the critically acclaimed 2018 animated film Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse. The movie brought together various versions of Spider-Man from different dimensions, including Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, and the original Peter Parker. The film was praised for its groundbreaking animation style, blending traditional hand-drawn techniques with modern CGI, creating a visually stunning experience that felt like a living comic book. Into the Spider-Verse not only introduced a new generation of fans to Miles Morales, but also showcased the endless possibilities of the Spider-Man mythos. Fact 68. In 2018, Tom Holland's Spider-Man was given his own solo film within the MCU, Spider-Man: Homecoming. Directed by John Watts, the film was a refreshing take on the character, focusing on Peter Parker's struggle to balance his high school life with his responsibilities as Spider-Man. The movie introduced the villain Vulture, played by Michael Keaton, and highlighted Peter's coming-of-age journey as he navigates the complexities of being a young superhero. The film was praised for its lighter tone, relatable coming-of-age story, and its successful integration into the larger MCU, establishing Spider-Man as a key figure in the superhero landscape. Fact 69. Spider-Man's continued success in live-action films was solidified with Spider-Man: Far From Home, 2019, the first Spider-Man film following the events of Avengers: Endgame. The film follows Peter Parker as he navigates the challenges of being a hero while dealing with the loss of Tony Stark. The movie introduces the character of Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, and explores Peter's internal struggle with stepping into the role of a leader. Far From Home was both a box office success and a critical hit, showcasing the depth of Spider Man's character and solidifying Tom Holland's portrayal as a beloved iteration of the hero. Fact 70: Spider Man's role in the animated series Spider Man, the Animated Series, 1994 1998, remains one of the most influential adaptations of the character. The series was praised for its faithful representation of Spider Man's origin story, as well as its ability to adapt classic comic book arcs, such as the Clone Saga and the death of Gwen Stacy, into animated form. The series also explored themes of responsibility, loss, and sacrifice, giving younger audiences a deeper understanding of the character's emotional depth. Spider Man. The animated series became a cornerstone of 90s animation and continues to be remembered fondly by fans. Fact 71: Spider Man's legacy is often marked by the different people who have taken up the mantle of Spider Man in various dimensions and storylines. While Peter Parker is the original and most iconic Spider Man, the multiverse has introduced numerous alternate versions of the character. One of the most prominent is Miles Morales, a teenager from an alternate reality who was bitten by a genetically altered spider. Miles took on the role of Spider Man after the death of his universe's Peter Parker. His unique powers, such as invisibility and electric venom blasts, have set him apart and earned him his own dedicated fan base. Fact 72: The character of Spider Man has evolved over the years to include numerous alternate versions across different realities. For example, in Spider Man 2099, we meet Miguel O'Hara, a brilliant geneticist living in a dystopian future. After a workplace accident, Miguel becomes the Spider Man of 2099, with new abilities, including enhanced senses and talons on his hands. The 2099 Spider Man is more aggressive and operates in a high tech future, marking a stark contrast to Peter Parker's traditional portrayal. This version of Spider Man shows how the mantle can be adapted to fit different eras and circumstances. Fact 73: In the Ultimate Spider Man comics, Peter Parker is reimagined as a teenager in a modern day setting. This version of Peter, who hails from the Ultimate Marvel universe, has a more contemporary look and attitude, different from the classic version of Spider Man. His storylines are grounded in a more realistic world, dealing with issues such as social media, public perception, and the pressures of growing up. The ultimate version of Spider Man was significant for introducing a new generation of fans to the character and for creating the world where Miles Morales would eventually take on the mantle of Spider Man. Fact 74: In addition to the alternate versions of Spider Man, Peter Parker himself has had different identities throughout his journey. Concerning instance, in the Spider Man Superior Spider Man storyline, Peter Parker's consciousness is swapped with that of Dr. Octopus. This results in Otto Octavius taking over Peter's body and becoming the Superior Spider Man. The arc is notable for showing how Peter's personality clashes with Dr. Octopus's ego and sense of superiority. Although Otto's version of Spider Man was more ruthless and pragmatic, it also highlighted Peter's internal growth and the core qualities that define Spider Man, such as compassion and self sacrifice. Fact 75: In the Spider Gwen universe, a version of Gwen Stacy was bitten by the radioactive spider instead of Peter Parker. In this reality, Gwen becomes Spider Woman, or Spider Gwen, and fights crime in a New York City where she faces personal challenges and complicated relationships, including with a version of Peter Parker who becomes the Lizard. Spider-Gwen represents a reimagining of the classic Spider-Man narrative through a female perspective, and she has grown to be a fan-favorite character, symbolizing empowerment and resilience. Her introduction in Edge of Spider-Verse number 2 marked the beginning of her popularity, which has only grown over time. Fact 76. Another notable alternate version of Spider-Man is Spider-Man 2211, a futuristic version of the character introduced in Spider-Man 2211 in 1992. Set in a future where Peter Parker is older, this version of Spider-Man is more of a grim, seasoned veteran of crime fighting. The setting is dystopian, and the character faces new challenges related to the technological advancements and moral dilemmas of the future. This version of Spider-Man highlights how the character's themes of responsibility and sacrifice remain constant, even in an advanced future. It shows the adaptability of Spider-Man's story, no matter the time period. Fact 77. The Spider-Man of the animated series Spider-Man Unlimited, 1999, is a radically different version of the character. In this series, Peter Parker is transported to a futuristic world where he has to battle new, bizarre enemies and encounter strange technology. This Spider-Man is more of an explorer, traveling between dimensions and confronting futuristic threats, which places him in contrast to his traditional urban crime-fighting persona. The show, though short-lived, offered a different perspective on the Spider-Man mythos, blending sci-fi elements with the superhero genre in a unique and memorable way. Fact 78. In The Amazing Spider-Man 2012 film, a new take on Peter Parker's story was introduced, with Andrew Garfield in the titular role. This version of Peter was portrayed as more of an outsider and a bit of a loner, with a snarkier attitude than the previous iterations. The film delves deeper into Peter's backstory, exploring the mystery behind his parents' disappearance. It was also the film that introduced the villain Lizard, played by Rhys Ifans. Garfield's portrayal of Spider-Man was a departure from Tobey Maguire's version, bringing a new energy to the role, though some fans appreciated the more vulnerable side of Peter's character. Fact 79. Spider-Man has also had several moments where his identity has been taken over by other characters, showing the complexity and versatility of the role. One example is when the symbiote, later known as Venom, initially bonds with Spider-Man. The black suit grants Peter enhanced powers, but it also begins to consume him emotionally. This transformation into a more aggressive and darker Spider-Man marked a significant shift in Peter's character, leading to the creation of one of his most famous and enduring foes, Venom. The Black Suit Saga is often seen as a pivotal moment in Spider-Man's journey, showing both his strength and vulnerability. Fact 80. Spider-Man's costume has had many variations over the years, reflecting different versions of his character. From the iconic red and blue suit to the black suit that he wore after the alien symbiote bonded with him, Spider-Man's costume is an evolving symbol of his identity. One notable variation is the Iron Spider suit, designed by Tony Stark in Avengers: Infinity War. This suit, which is high-tech and equipped with mechanical arms, symbolizes Peter's growing relationship with the larger superhero community and his entry into the Avengers. It represents his evolution from a local hero to one with global responsibilities. Fact 81. Spider-Man's role within the larger Marvel Universe is often defined by his involvement in crossovers and team-ups with other superheroes. One of the most iconic and long lasting of these team ups is with the Avengers, the superhero team that includes heroes like Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, and the Hulk. Spider Man first joined the Avengers in Avengers That Year 11, 1964, after proving himself in a battle against the villain, the Submariner. This marked the beginning of his involvement with the group, even though he has often remained an outsider, preferring to work alone. His membership with the Avengers solidified his place as one of Marvel's most important heroes. Fact 82: Spider Man's early crossovers with other superheroes were often a way to establish his position in the broader Marvel Universe. In the Marvel Team Up series, which began in 1972, Spider Man was frequently paired with other Marvel heroes like the X-Men, the Human Torch, and the Hulk. This series gave Spider Man a chance to interact with characters he wouldn't normally encounter in his solo adventures. These team ups not only increased Spider Man's visibility in the Marvel Universe, but also helped fans see him as part of a larger community of superheroes, reinforcing his importance in the Marvel world. Fact 83: One of Spider Man's most significant crossovers was with the X Men in the X Men W92, 1975. The X Men were known for their struggles as mutants in a world that feared and hated them, and Spider Man's crossover with them demonstrated the shared themes of responsibility, isolation, and heroism that both groups dealt with. Their collaboration on multiple storylines, including battling common enemies like Magneto and the Juggernaut, reinforced the idea that Spider Man wasn't just a solo hero, but part of a larger universe of beings struggling with their powers and responsibilities. Fact 84: In the Secret Wars crossover event, 1984 1985, Spider Man was transported to a distant planet by the villainous Beyonder, where he and other Marvel heroes were forced to fight against a group of villains. This event was pivotal because it marked Spider Man's first significant crossover with characters from all corners of the Marvel Universe, from the Hulk to the Fantastic Four. Spider Man's appearance in Secret Wars not only showcased his ability to hold his own in a universe filled with powerful heroes and villains, but also introduced a new costume, the black suit, which would become iconic in his storyline. Fact 85: Spider Man's connection to the Fantastic Four is another key aspect of his involvement in the Marvel Universe. Although Spider Man is not a permanent member of the team, he has crossed paths with them numerous times, both as an ally and in brief team ups. His first major encounter with the Fantastic Four happened in Fantastic Four number 1, 1961, where he tried to join the team but was rejected. Despite this, his admiration for the team and their influence on his development as a superhero remained strong. Over the years, Spider Man and the Fantastic Four have had many team ups, fighting side by side against foes like Doctor Doom and Galactus. Fact 86: Spider Man's relationships with characters like Daredevil have always been noteworthy. Both heroes are New York based, often dealing with street level crime and sharing common enemies. In their first team up, Daredevil number 16, 1966, Spider Man and Daredevil united to defeat the villain Namor the Submariner. Their partnership was marked by mutual respect and an understanding of the complexities of being a superhero in the city. Spider Man and Daredevil would go on to collaborate many times, with their relationship rooted in their shared experiences as superheroes who try to balance their personal lives with their duties as protectors of New York City. Fact 87: The Avengers vs. X Men crossover event 2012 was another significant moment for Spider Man as he found himself caught between two of Marvel's most powerful teams. The event focused on the conflict between the Avengers and the X-Men over the fate of the Phoenix Force, a cosmic entity capable of destroying or remaking worlds. Spider-Man's role in this event was crucial, as he was caught in the middle of the battle while trying to protect both his friends and the people of New York. The event showcased Spider-Man's growth as a hero, as he had to navigate the complexities of aligning with different ideologies. Fact 88: Spider Man's participation in the Civil War storyline in 2006 2007 is one of the most important moments in his superhero career. The story arc centered around the conflict between the pro registration heroes, led by Iron Man, and the anti registration heroes, led by Captain America, over the Superhero Registration Act. Spider Man's decision to publicly unmask and support Iron Man's side created an emotional rift in the superhero community, as many saw it as a betrayal of the ideals Spider Man had long stood for. The story examined the moral complexities of power, responsibility, and the consequences of making decisions that affect not only heroes, but the entire world. Fact 89: In Spider-Verse 2014-2015, Spider-Man was once again at the center of a massive crossover event, bringing together multiple versions of the character from across the multiverse. The event, which introduced the villain Morlun and his family of inheritors, showcased the vastness of the Spider-Man legacy. In this storyline, Spider-Man from different universes, including Spider-Gwen and Spider-Man 2019, united to face a common threat. Spider-Verse was not only a celebration of Spider-Man's legacy, but also emphasized the importance of unity and the idea that Spider-Man's message of responsibility and heroism transcends all dimensions and realities. Samoa Fact 90: Spider-Man's involvement in the Infinity War 1992 storyline marked another key moment in his crossover history. While the event primarily focused on Thanos and his quest for the Infinity Gauntlet, Spider-Man's participation showed how far-reaching the battle for the universe was. Although Spider-Man was not a central figure in the storyline, his inclusion was significant, as he fought alongside the Avengers and other Marvel heroes to stop Thanos. This story arc was another opportunity for Spider-Man to showcase his bravery and sense of duty, even in the face of threats far beyond the scope of his typical crime-fighting battles. Fact 91: Spider-Man's creation was a collaborative effort between writer Stan Lee and artist Steve Ditko, but the origins of the character almost didn't happen. Lee, at the time, had been working on a variety of superheroes for Marvel Comics, but none of them seemed to have the same appeal as other big names like Captain America or Thor. Lee wanted to create a hero who wasn't a god, but someone regular people could relate to. After some initial struggles, Steve Ditko's design for Spider-Man's costume and personality helped solidify the character into one of the most iconic superheroes ever created. Fact 92: Stan Lee's decision to make Spider-Man a teenager was revolutionary for the time. Most superheroes were adults, often with mature or godlike qualities. Lee wanted to create a character that young readers could relate to, someone dealing with the struggles of adolescence, while also juggling the responsibility of being a superhero. Peter Parker was an ordinary high school student, dealing with family issues, bullies, and his own insecurities. This grounded, relatable approach made Spider-Man stand out from other superheroes and connected him to a much wider audience, especially those who were navigating similar teenage challenges. Fact 93. The inspiration for Spider Man's powers came from a simple observation of the natural world. Steve Ditko, the artist behind Spider Man's visual design, was inspired by the agility and quickness of spiders. Lee wanted to create a hero whose abilities reflected his insect based origins. The idea of Spider Man being able to cling to walls, possess enhanced agility, and have a heightened sense of danger all stemmed from the characteristics of spiders. This unique set of powers allowed Spider Man to be different from other superheroes, as his fighting style was more acrobatic and nimble, making him a dynamic and unpredictable character. Fact 94. Spider Man's iconic red and blue costume was not an accident. It was carefully crafted to make him stand out. Steve Ditko's design was meant to be both bold and practical. The colors were striking and easy to distinguish, helping the character stand out on comic book pages. Ditko also wanted the suit to reflect Spider Man's agility, with the webbing pattern symbolizing the connection between Peter's personal struggles and his superhero persona. The suit has since become one of the most recognizable in pop culture, symbolizing the balance of strength and vulnerability that defines Spider Man's character. Fact 95. The web shooters, one of Spider Man's most iconic inventions, were born out of a desire to make Spider Man stand apart from other superheroes. While many superheroes had inherent powers, Lee and Ditko wanted Peter Parker to use his intelligence to invent tools that would help him fight crime. The web shooters were a key part of this, showcasing Peter's scientific genius and his ability to think on his feet. The invention also gave Spider Man a unique advantage in combat, allowing him to swing between buildings, create traps for villains, and escape tight situations. They became an essential part of his identity. Fact 96. Despite Spider Man's popularity, his original creation was met with skepticism from Marvel's publisher, Martin Goodman. In fact, Goodman initially rejected the idea of a teenage superhero, doubting that readers would relate to a young character who wasn't an established hero. However, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko persisted, and their belief in the character's potential paid off. Spider Man's debut in Amazing Fantasy Humor 15 in 1962 was a huge success, and the character quickly became one of Marvel's most beloved and enduring figures, proving that Goodman's skepticism was unfounded and that there was indeed an appetite for a superhero like Spider Man. Fact 97. Stan Lee's writing style for Spider Man helped set the tone for much of Marvel's comic books during the 1960s. His decision to create a character with personal flaws and relatable struggles was groundbreaking for the time. Lee's writing was often infused with humor, wit, and introspection, making Spider Man's adventures feel more grounded than the traditional, more godlike superhero stories that had dominated comics. This allowed readers to connect with Peter Parker not just as a superhero, but as a young man grappling with love, loss, guilt, and personal growth, themes that are still relevant to this day. Fact 98. Steve Ditko's artistic style for Spider Man was a key factor in the character's success. Ditko's illustrations emphasized Peter Parker's emotions, the fast paced action of Spider Man's acrobatic fights, and the detailed design of the costume. His work gave Spider Man a sense of movement and fluidity, which made the character feel alive on the page. Ditko's decision To create a webbing pattern on the costume that was both visually striking and functional was a smart design choice, making Spider Man instantly recognizable. Ditko's unique art style has had a lasting influence on Spider Man's visual representation and his overall legacy in pop culture. Fact 99. In addition to the creation of Spider Man, Stan Lee and Steve Ditko also introduced many of the supporting characters that would go on to define Peter Parker's world. Characters like Aunt May, Mary Jane Watson, and J. Jonah Jameson were integral to Spider Man's stories, offering emotional depth and adding complexity to Peter's journey. Aunt May's unwavering support and love for Peter contrasted with his guilt over keeping his secret identity, while Mary Jane provided Peter with a source of love and stability, even as he struggled to balance his superhero duties. J. Jonah Jameson's antagonism served as a reminder of the challenges Peter faced as Spider Man. A Fact 100. The release of Amazing Fantasy number 15 in 1962 marked a turning point in Marvel's history. Spider Man's debut was not just a commercial success, it also shifted the direction of superhero comics. Unlike other superheroes who were often perfect and larger than life, Spider Man was human, vulnerable, and filled with doubt. His struggles as Peter Parker and his journey toward understanding the responsibilities of being a hero resonated deeply with readers. Spider Man's success paved the way for the creation of other complex superheroes in the Marvel Universe, and his enduring popularity continues to shape the superhero genre today. Fact 101. Spider Man's cultural impact cannot be overstated. From his first appearance in 1962, Spider Man quickly became more than just a comic book hero. He became a symbol of youth, resilience, and personal responsibility. His relatability, especially as a teenager struggling to balance his superhero duties with everyday life, resonated with readers across generations. Over the decades, Spider Man has appeared in nearly every form of media, from movies and TV shows to video games and merchandise. His lasting popularity demonstrates how deeply Spider Man's core themes, such as responsibility and personal sacrifice, continue to resonate with audiences around the world. Fact 102. Spider Man has influenced the superhero genre in ways few characters have. When Spider Man first appeared, the superhero landscape was dominated by perfect, larger than life characters like Superman and Captain America. Peter Parker, with his everyday struggles and relatable personality, brought a fresh and humanized perspective to the genre. The success of Spider Man paved the way for other superhero characters to be written with flaws, vulnerabilities, and real life challenges. Spider Man's influence helped shift the genre towards more complex, multifaceted heroes, laying the foundation for the more grounded and human superheroes we see in today's comic book world. Fact 103. Spider Man's success in mainstream culture is also largely due to his presence in film and television. The 1990s animated series Spider Man, the animated series, introduced a new generation of fans to the character and is considered one of the best animated superhero series of all time. The show's blend of action, humor, and emotional storytelling captured the essence of Spider Man's character, making it a key part of 90s pop culture. This animated series also introduced iconic comic book storylines, such as the Clone Saga and the death of Gwen Stacy, making Spider Man's legacy accessible to new audiences. Fact 104. The 2002 Spider Man film, directed by Sam Raimi, was a game changer for superhero movies, not only launching a successful trilogy, but also sparking the modern superhero movie era. Tobey Maguire's portrayal of Peter Parker, with his vulnerabilities and moral dilemmas, brought the character to life in a way that resonated with audiences. The film's success, both critically and commercially, helped prove that superhero films could be more than just action packed spectacles. They could also explore deeper emotional and psychological themes. This film's success set the stage for the blockbuster superhero films that followed in the 21st century. Fact 105: Spider Man's popularity has led to numerous video game adaptations over the years, with one of the most successful being the 2018 Marvel's Spider Man for PlayStation 4. This game, developed by Insomniac Games, was praised for its fluid, web swinging mechanics, stunning visuals, and deep storyline. The game's success brought Spider Man to a new generation of gamers and introduced elements of his character in ways never before seen in video games. The game's portrayal of Peter Parker's personal struggles and his journey to become a hero resonated deeply with players, reaffirming Spider Man's place in pop culture. Fact 106: Spider Man's cultural influence extends beyond just media, as he has become a major figure in fashion. The design of Spider Man's costume, with its vibrant colors and striking webbing pattern, has been adapted into various forms of fashion, including streetwear and high end designer collections. Spider Man's imagery has appeared on everything from t shirts to sneakers to designer jackets, proving how the character transcends his comic book roots. The timeless nature of his design has allowed Spider Man to stay relevant in pop culture, appealing not just to comic fans, but to fashion forward individuals as well. Fact 107: The success of Spider Man has also influenced the development of other superhero universes, particularly Marvel's own character roster. Many of Spider Man's storylines and themes, such as the balance between heroism and personal responsibility, have been incorporated into other Marvel characters. The concept of a flawed, relatable superhero has been mirrored in characters like Daredevil, the X-Men, and even characters like the Hulk. Spider Man's influence on the Marvel Universe cannot be understated, as his unique blend of personal drama, action, and humor has shaped the evolution of many other superheroes in Marvel's roster. Fact 108: Spider Man's cultural relevance has extended beyond entertainment and into the realm of social activism. His motto, "With great power comes great responsibility," has been adopted in various campaigns and movements that emphasize responsibility and the impact of individual actions on the world. Spider Man has been a symbol for many charitable causes, particularly in programs aimed at helping youth and underprivileged communities. His legacy as a character who deals with personal hardship but always strives to do the right thing has made him an inspirational figure for those looking to make a positive impact in the world. Fact 109: Spider Man's influence extends to the academic world as well. The character has been the subject of numerous studies in literature, psychology, and social theory. Scholars have examined Spider Man as a figure of archetypal heroism, using his character as a lens to explore themes of identity, power, and responsibility. Peter Parker's struggle with his dual identity, balancing his personal life with his role as Spider Man, has been compared to the inner conflicts faced by real individuals. These academic discussions highlight Spider Man's depth as a character, making him a source of intellectual discussion as well as entertainment. Fact 110: Spider Man's widespread popularity has resulted in him being one of the most recognizable characters in the world. His image has been used on everything from toys and comics to theme park attractions and advertising. His enduring legacy is a testament to his universal appeal, transcending age, race, and cultural boundaries. Spider Man's legacy as a symbol of heroism, hope, and responsibility continues to inspire people of all ages. He remains a timeless character who continues to connect with generations of fans around the world, cementing his place as one of the most beloved superheroes of all time. Fact 111. One of the most defining aspects of Spider Man's character is his moral and philosophical struggle with the responsibilities of being a hero. From the very beginning, Peter Parker was taught that, with great power comes great responsibility. This phrase became his guiding principle, but it also served as a constant source of inner conflict. Peter's moral dilemmas are often the heart of his stories, where he must decide whether to prioritize his personal life or the greater good. His choices aren't always clear cut, making his journey as Spider Man as much about self exploration as it is about fighting crime. Fact 112. A major moral challenge for Spider Man comes from his constant balancing act between his life as Peter Parker and his life as Spider Man. At times, Peter is forced to make difficult decisions about whether to attend important events in his personal life, such as family gatherings or dates with Mary Jane, or to rush off and save the city. This internal battle often brings Peter pain, as his duty to protect others conflicts with his desire to lead a normal life. This struggle is a key part of what makes Spider Man so relatable to readers. He is constantly torn between his selfish desires and his heroic obligations. Fact 113. Another significant moral issue Spider Man faces is the guilt that comes with his actions. The death of his Uncle Ben is a constant reminder for Peter that even the smallest decisions can have far reaching consequences. This guilt drives Peter to be an even more dedicated superhero, but it also serves as a heavy burden that impacts his relationships. The need to make up for his perceived failures can lead Peter into situations where he overextends himself, trying to save everyone, even when it's impossible. His guilt is a recurring theme in his stories, representing the complexities of heroism and the personal cost of being Spider Man. Fact 114. Spider Man's struggle with power and control is another major philosophical theme. As a superhero, Peter has extraordinary abilities, but with those abilities comes the constant pressure to do the right thing. Early in his journey, Peter used his powers for selfish gain, and the consequences of that choice weighed heavily on him. As he grows, Peter understands that the true measure of heroism is not just in defeating villains, but in using his powers to help others and to uphold justice. This struggle with power and its ethical use defines much of Spider Man's character development over the years. Fact 115. Spider Man also wrestles with the concept of sacrifice. He constantly puts others before himself, often sacrificing his own happiness, safety, and well being for the greater good. This sense of duty is part of what makes Spider Man so compelling. He is often willing to face personal loss in order to protect those he loves. This sacrifice is especially evident in his relationships, where his role as a superhero creates distance between him and those closest to him, such as Aunt May and Mary Jane. While he is driven by his desire to protect, This often comes at the expense of his own happiness. Fact 116. The issue of trust is a central theme in Spider Man's moral dilemmas. Because Peter's identity as Spider Man is a secret, he must hide the truth from almost everyone, including his loved ones. This creates a constant strain on his relationships. His inability to fully open up to those he cares about is a major emotional burden. Peter often struggles with whether or not he should reveal his identity to Mary Jane, Aunt May, or his friends. This dilemma is not just about keeping secrets, but about the fear that revealing the truth could place those he loves in even greater danger. Fact 117. Spider Man's philosophical struggles are compounded by the constant presence of fear. While many superheroes are depicted as invulnerable or confident in their abilities, Spider Man's vulnerability is an integral part of his character. He faces real dangers, both physical and emotional, and often finds himself afraid of the consequences of his actions. This fear is especially prominent when he faces enemies like the Green Goblin, who threaten not just his life, but the lives of those he loves. Spider Man's willingness to face these fears, even when he is scared, adds a layer of complexity to his character, making him more human and relatable. Fact 118. Spider Man's relationship with justice is another key aspect of his moral struggles. Unlike other heroes who often operate within the confines of the law, Spider Man's sense of justice sometimes leads him to take actions that blur the line between right and wrong. He is often forced to decide whether to follow the law or to act outside of it in order to protect innocent lives. His decision to work outside the traditional legal system, while driven by the desire to do good, complicates his relationship with law enforcement and society, adding a deeper layer of complexity to his ethical outlook. Fact 119. Spider Man's struggle with his identity is a constant philosophical theme throughout his journey. On one hand, he is Peter Parker, a regular young man with dreams, desires, and a family. On the other hand, he is Spider Man, a symbol of responsibility, power, and sacrifice. This duality is a major source of internal conflict, as Peter often feels torn between his responsibilities as Spider Man and his desire to live a normal life. His quest to define who he is, both as a person and a hero, represents the universal struggle of balancing personal desires with the needs of others. Fact 120. Finally, Spider Man's role as a symbol of hope is central to his moral philosophy. Despite the many obstacles, fears, and sacrifices he faces, Spider Man remains a beacon of hope for the people of New York City and for his fans around the world. His perseverance in the face of adversity, his unwavering commitment to doing what's right, and his willingness to continue fighting despite personal loss make him a symbol of hope and resilience. Spider Man teaches that even in the darkest times, there is always a way forward, and that one person's actions can make a difference in the world. Fact 121. One of the most memorable quotes associated with Spider Man is, "With great power comes great responsibility." This phrase, first spoken by Uncle Ben, became the moral foundation for Peter Parker's entire journey as Spider Man. It serves as a constant reminder of the weight of his powers and the importance of using them wisely. This line has become iconic, not only in the Spider Man universe, but in the broader realm of pop culture, emphasizing the universal truth that those who have the ability to make a difference in the world must do so for the greater good. Fact 122. Another pivotal moment in Spider Man's story occurs when he first learns of the true cost of his powers in the heartbreaking The Night Gwen Stacy Died storyline. This moment is tragic, not just because of the loss of Gwen, but because it represents Peter's guilt for not being able to save her. The tragic death of Gwen Stacy at the hands of the Green Goblin marked a major shift in Peter's character and his understanding of the risks and sacrifices that come with being Spider Man. It was a defining moment in Spider Man's development, cementing his sense of responsibility and loss. Fact 123: in Spider Man No More, 1967, Peter Parker, exhausted by the constant battles and emotional turmoil of being Spider Man, decides to hang up his suit and walk away from his role as a superhero. However, after witnessing the consequences of his absence, such as the rise of crime in New York City, Peter realizes that he cannot abandon his responsibility. This moment represents one of the core themes of Spider Man's journey: the tension between personal desires and the greater good. Despite his doubts, Peter chooses to continue as Spider Man, accepting that his duty as a hero is never truly over. Fact 124: one of the most memorable quotes from Spider Man comes from his very first appearance in Amazing Fantasy 17, when he says, "With great power comes great responsibility," and continues with, "I am Spider Man." This declaration marks the moment when Peter embraces his identity as a hero and understands the gravity of the lesson he has learned. This quote is not just a part of Spider Man's lore, it's a reminder that despite his personal struggles, Peter has chosen to take on the mantle of responsibility, no matter how difficult or painful it may be. It's a moment of acceptance. Fact 125: in the other, Evolve or Die 2005, Spider Man undergoes a transformation that is both literal and metaphorical. When Peter dies and is reborn, he emerges with new abilities and a new understanding of his place in the world. This rebirth represents Peter's growth as a character. He evolves from being someone burdened by guilt and fear into a fully realized hero who embraces his powers and responsibilities without hesitation. The moment when Peter embraces his new self is powerful, symbolizing not just his physical change, but his emotional and mental evolution as Spider Man. Fact 126: the moment when Spider Man first meets the Avengers is a key event in his development. In Avengers The March 11, 1964, Spider Man briefly joins the team after proving himself by helping them defeat the Submariner. This moment marks a significant step for Spider Man, as he goes from being a lone hero to becoming part of a larger community of superheroes. This interaction helps Spider Man understand that even though he may have started out alone, he is not isolated in his mission. He finds camaraderie with other heroes, which ultimately strengthens his resolve to continue fighting for justice. Fact 127: a deeply emotional moment occurs in The Kid Who Collected Spider Man, 1984, where Peter Parker meets a terminally ill boy named Tim Harrison who asks to meet his hero. Tim, who has no time left, spends his final days with Spider Man, who in turn shares a personal and meaningful connection with the young boy. This story illustrates Spider Man's humanity, as he doesn't just fight villains, but touches lives in a way that transcends his superhero status. The emotional depth of this moment shows how Spider Man, as a hero, can provide hope and comfort even in the face of death. Fact 128: one of the defining moments for Spider Man comes in The Amazing Spider Man number 50, 1967, when he decides to stop being Spider Man due to the overwhelming burden of being a hero. The issue, titled Spider Man No More, marks Peter's frustration with his double life. He's exhausted from constantly sacrificing his happiness and personal life for the greater good. However, Peter soon realizes that he cannot abandon his responsibility, and his return to being Spider Man is a powerful reaffirmation of his commitment to protecting others, even if it means enduring personal pain and loss. This moment defines his character's strength. Fact 129. A truly heartbreaking moment in Spider Man's story comes when Aunt May discovers Peter's secret identity. In The Amazing Spider Man, the 400, 1995, Aunt May learns that Peter is Spider Man and feels betrayed that he kept this from her. This moment, filled with emotion and raw vulnerability, highlights the personal cost of being Spider Man. Peter is not just fighting crime, he's constantly distancing himself from those he loves in order to protect them. This revelation serves as a powerful reminder that even heroes must confront the consequences of their choices, and that sometimes the hardest battles are the ones fought within. Fact 130. Spider Man's encounter with the symbiote in The Amazing Spider Man 252, 1984, is a defining moment for the character. When Peter Parker bonds with the alien symbiote, it enhances his powers, making him stronger and more aggressive. However, the symbiote also brings out a darker side of Peter as he becomes more reckless and angry. Eventually, Peter rejects the symbiote, understanding that it was not only corrupting him physically, but emotionally as well. This storyline explores themes of temptation, power, and control, showing that Spider Man's true strength thus lies in his ability to resist the allure of power that goes against his moral compass. Fact 131. Spider Man's legacy continues to evolve through the various characters who have taken up the mantle of Spider Man, both within the main Marvel universe and across alternate realities. Miles Morales, perhaps the most prominent of these successors, represents a new generation of Spider Man fans. Miles, introduced in the Ultimate Universe, brought a fresh perspective to the role with his unique powers and diverse background. His integration into the main Marvel Universe through the Spider-Verse storyline in 2014 cemented his place in Spider Man's legacy. Miles' popularity continues to grow, demonstrating that Spider Man's legacy is adaptable, inclusive, and ever expanding. Fact 132. In addition to Miles Morales, many other alternate versions of Spider Man have emerged in various media, each contributing their own twist to the character's legacy. Spider Man 2099, also known as Miguel O'Hara, presents a futuristic version of Spider Man. Set in a dystopian future, Miguel is a scientist who, through a tragic accident, acquires powers similar to those of the original Spider Man. Spider Man 2099 was a significant departure from Peter Parker's classic version, offering a darker, more cyberpunk themed take on the character. This version helped expand the Spider Man mythos, showing that the legacy could transcend time and space. Fact 133. Spider Man's influence on other media, especially films, has been profound. The success of Sam Raimi's Spider Man trilogy, beginning in 2002, revolutionized superhero cinema and set the stage for the modern era of comic book films. The trilogy's focus on Peter Parker's emotional journey and moral dilemmas, combined with exciting action sequences, brought Spider Man into mainstream pop culture. Its success proved that superhero films could be both entertaining and emotionally engaging, setting a template that other superhero franchises would follow for years to come. The trilogy also helped launch the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe MCU as we know it today. Fact 134: Spider Man's position within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, MCU, further solidified his status as one of the most important superheroes in modern pop culture. The character was integrated into the MCU with Captain America Civil War 2016, where Tom Holland's portrayal of Peter Parker was well received for capturing the youthful energy and vulnerability of Spider Man. Holland's Spider Man was not just a part of the MCU's larger narrative, but also introduced a new dynamic as Peter navigated both the Avengers' complex world and his personal life. The character's involvement in the MCU has only expanded Spider Man's reach and cultural relevance. At 135, Spider Man's longevity in popular culture can also be attributed to his complex and evolving character. Over the decades, Spider Man has evolved from a relatable, struggling teenager into one of the most iconic and enduring characters in comic book history. His journey has been marked by significant personal losses, moral struggles, and the balance of his personal life with his superhero responsibilities. This constant evolution has kept Spider Man relevant, showing that his story is as much about personal growth and resilience as it is about fighting villains. His continuing relevance in comics, TV shows, and films speaks to the enduring power of his character. Fact 136: Spider Man's legacy extends to the next generation of fans, with newer versions of the character inspiring young readers and viewers. Spider Man has become a symbol of hope, perseverance, and responsibility for people of all ages. Whether through his traditional stories or the more modern adaptations of characters like Miles Morales, Spider Man remains a beacon of heroism, showing that anyone, no matter their background or circumstances, can make a difference. Spider Man's legacy is one of empowerment, and his story has inspired countless individuals to embrace their own abilities and fight for justice, no matter the obstacles they face. Fact 137: Spider Man's influence extends beyond just the comics and films into various forms of merchandise and pop culture. From action figures to clothing, Spider Man's image is ubiquitous, and his likeness is one of the most recognizable in the world. The character's widespread recognition has made him a symbol in various other industries, from video games to theme park attractions. Spider Man's ability to transcend the comic book world and become a cultural icon highlights his universal appeal. His adaptability in different media ensures that his legacy will continue to inspire future generations, cementing his place as one of the most beloved characters of all time. Fact 138: The Spider-Verse event, which featured multiple versions of Spider-Man from alternate universes, further explored the idea that Spider-Man's legacy is not confined to just one hero or dimension. The story showed that Spider Man is a title that can be taken on by anyone, regardless of background, gender, or origin. Characters like Spider Gwen, Spider Man 2099, and Spider Ham all showcased the diverse possibilities within the Spider Man mythos. This event reinforced the idea that Spider Man is not just one person, but an idea, an archetype that can inspire countless individuals across different worlds to stand up for what is right. Fact 139: Spider Man's place in the superhero pantheon is secure not only because of his incredible powers, but because of his enduring humanity. Peter Parker is one of the most relatable characters in all of comic books, primarily because his struggles are so grounded. Despite having incredible abilities, Peter faces the same personal struggles, fears, and heartbreak that everyone can understand. This duality, being both an extraordinary hero and a deeply human individual, is what makes Spider Man so universally loved. His journey is about finding balance, facing adversity, and never giving up, and that is what makes him timeless and endlessly relevant. Fact 140. Looking ahead, Spider Man's future in both comics and media is bright. With continued success in films, including more Spider Man solo projects and potential crossovers within the MCU, the character is poised to remain at the forefront of superhero storytelling. New comic book arcs, the continued development of characters like Miles Morales, and the ongoing exploration of Spider Man's legacy ensure that the character will endure for generations to come. Spider Man's evolution, from his first appearance to the present day, demonstrates that while heroes may change, the core themes of hope, responsibility, and sacrifice will always resonate with audiences. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the incredible legacy of Spider Man. From his origins as a teenage superhero to his enduring impact across generations and media, Spider Man's story is one of responsibility, growth, and resilience. His journey continues to inspire millions, and his legacy will undoubtedly endure for years to come. I hope you've enjoyed this exploration of one of the greatest superheroes in comic book history. Until next time, may you carry with you the lessons of hope, responsibility, and perseverance, just as Spider Man has taught us all. Good night.